tips for the Carnival cruise line. So some insider tips. As in, I've been on many Carnival ships, all pretty much different, the big ones, the small ones, or whatever. So this could be kind of insider tips for pretty much any cruise, but this is more specifically geared towards the Carnival cruise. So here we go. So number one, you can take off your tips. As far as who the tips are for, the tips that come in at the end are for your stateroom and for your dining. The bartender, they do it automatically, so please do not tip ahead, like more than that. They're already going to tip like 18% or something. Daycare, they also already tip. So all your tips are going towards is your stateroom and your dining room. People. They do a really good job, but you can take them off if you feel like they are too expensive or something like that. For example, on this trip, we did take off our tips for the 2 kids because it was $97 for the week for all 4 of us. That was a lot of money in tips, especially after how much we've already spent on the cruise and everything. So we still paid $97 for me, $97 for him, but we did take off for the kids, because they weren't even hardly eating sometimes, and we were already paying for the daycare tipping as well. And now on one of our family members who went, they actually took off all their tips for all of them, so they didn't even tip at all. Now, I definitely wouldn't recommend that, but it is actually possible to take off those tips or to adjust them. So if you'd like to adjust and give more or give less, you can. Some people like to give like a gift basket for the stateroom steward. That's nice, but they also do want the tips, I'm sure. They do not sell Coca-Cola products or your Coke card the morning of your debarkation. So if you're like, I have to have a Coke in the morning, and you're going up to breakfast and you've already ready for debarkation, so you've already been docked and everything, they will not sell you the Coke. They will actually not sell it to you even in the waters of the United States without charging you an extra tax. So for example, us going through the Mississippi River, even though she'd already paid for her Coke card, they were charging her additional tax, like just because it's in the United States waters. So just to keep that in mind. So if we do want a Coke before breakfast the next morning, just go see if you can go the night before to the bartender, get you a canned Coke, and then take it back to your room and put it in your refrigerator. So that would also work if you have to have a Coke in the morning. Remember that you can get off the ship as soon as they dock, but to get off early, you have to line up at least half an hour before docking. We went down probably about 15-20 minutes before we actually docked, and it was just crazy. But it always is. And then they say they have to wait till someone calls you. You don't. Just go ahead and line up with your bags if you're wanting to go on off. Now, if you're checking your bags and then you'll just get them once you get off, then take your time. You have all morning. But if you're wanting to just walk on off, if you're wanting to be the first people off the ship, then you need to be in line super early. In my opinion, I'd be happy staying and sleeping a little later, getting some breakfast, taking your time, but that's not our group. Our group always wants to be headed out on the road as soon as possible. So we get out and have to be one of the first people off, but that's just what we do. I would definitely suggest skip the fancy dinner that first night to watch the sail away the first night. I know we never hardly do this because everybody wants to go to dinner, but I really like sailing away, and I kind of like having the relaxation begin, and by getting ready for dinner, getting all dressed up, going to dinner, that to me is not necessarily always relaxing, so I would definitely recommend not going to the dinner that first night. Just relax and just go to the Cabanas or wherever it's called for breakfast and lunch. You can also go there. You could also go to that fancier dinner for lunch one day instead if you feel like you didn't get your money's worth, for sure. Or you could try out some of the other places that are special on the Carnival ship and the Royal Caribbean especially that maybe you haven't got to try yet. So it's still really fun. That way you can actually go to the pool. See, I feel like whenever I get on, I don't even have time to go to the pool because we have early dinner. And so by the time we get our bathing suits on and then get in the pool, then it's time to get ready to go. So that's just kind of my opinion on that. Download your app for your cruise line before you're leaving, or you can technically do it when you get on board, but you want to go ahead and have it ready to go. So a lot of times I'll do it the night before whenever we come in and stay at the hotel, usually the night before, and I'll usually download the app then, but just make sure you do that already ahead of time so you can see all the fun times and all the activities that are going on that day. Pick a spot to spend daytimes. We chose the back of the ship, but it was really quite busy because apparently everyone did that. So try to pick a spot where everyone will meet because we don't have any communication unless you want to pay for it. That's the only bad thing about a cruise is the non-communication. I would like to pay the money just to have texting available, especially if you have multiple groups of people, but if you're not going to do that, then just pick a spot that you guys are always going to meet at and be like, all right, this is our spot. So whenever we come to hang out on the dock, the deck or whatever, it will always be right here. Now I get that sometimes there's not enough seats for everybody. So if you want to pick somewhere a little less busy, a little less away from the main hub, that's probably your best bet if you're going to try to meet up with people or save seats, because I definitely don't like that. Or instead of picking it on the main deck, number 10, maybe pick it on deck 11 or deck 12, and that would be a really good idea for that as well. You can use the arcade on board to help your babies get through their evening, because a lot of times there's not a lot of stuff to do with babies, but the arcade is usually something you have to pay for, right? Well, if I took my 4-year-old in there, she would definitely want to pay for it. So I don't know if we took her in there, because it's really expensive. Each game is like $3, which is really, really ridiculous expensive. But the babies, they're fine with just all the bright lights and playing around on it and touching the buttons anyways. And so I took her in there whenever she was being a little bit fussy during one of the shows, and I could take her in there and play with her until the show was over to catch up with everyone else. That's a really good option if it's close to the show or close to your dinner or something like that. Definitely make sure you get a port picture every time you get off the ship. We tried to get that, but this last time we didn't get a chance to get one of those, and then one time we didn't get off altogether, and so that wasn't ideal. But make sure you get those port pictures, because they take you off there, you get the Carnival logo and everything, and then they give you the Grand Cayman or the Cozumel or whatever. It tells it to you on there. Sometimes they have like a special person, like we had in Jamaica, we had a guy dressed up as Bob Marley, sort of, which was kind of cool, and if you like those as well. But you get them right as you get off the ship. Like, do not wait to get them, because they won't be there when you get back. So take a picture there, and then those are the cheapest pictures you'll be able to buy on the entire ship. So definitely recommend getting those, and that way you're getting some professional photos that's outside with natural lighting and that has the port stops on it. So definitely recommend those, and make an effort to get those. Let's see, get plenty of professional photos and pick the best. So, especially with Carnival, their prices are very expensive. So every night we go to dinner, we would just meet in the lobby in deck 3 on the Carnival Dream, and we would go ahead and take some pictures. Now the reason why we chose there is there's usually 4 different picture stops. There's a bunch of other ones everywhere throughout the ship, but sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, and we didn't want to go somewhere and then not like the background. So we went to deck 3. There's 4 different picture spots, so we pick one usually every time, and we would get all the different groups. So we'd get each girl individually, the girls together, the 4 of us, and then our whole family, and then anybody else who wanted to get more could get more. And that way, by doing that, we were able to actually pick from all of those shots and pick the best. And even though they're kind of expensive, you can at least pick the best. And that might be the best that you look, that might be your best outfit, but for my kids, it's whenever they're looking at the camera or whenever they're in a good mood. That's hit or miss with pictures, and if you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. So I definitely liked having that option so we could pick the favorite ones. And finally, my other insider tip is bring a tablet to dinner for your little kids. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm worried about people saying fine dining. They'd much rather have you having a tablet than having a kid screaming and being upset. And it is a very long dinner, so if your kids are not going to go to the kids club, or if you're trying to wait a little bit, we bring a tablet because they're going to bring their food out first, then they'll just be sitting there waiting on you. So they eat, and then they're not as full, so they're not as hungry, so they're not as hateful, and then you just give them their tablet for a little bit of entertainment, and that usually works out pretty good. Now with the 18-month-old, that doesn't quite always work yet because she's still not really old enough for the tablet. We have one for her, but she just kind of plays around with it, but not much. But it's really great for the 4-year-old to keep her from getting upset and everything. So those are my tips that I can think of. If you have any other great tips, please comment down below. I'd love to see your tips for the next time I go on a Carnival ship, which will be really soon. The one that we're looking at next is the one that goes from, that's a sister ship from the Dream and the Breeze, we've been on both of those, so I think we're looking at the Carnival Magic. Again, I would prefer to go on Royal Caribbean, but it looks like everybody else is wanting to go on Carnival. So with Carnival though, it's still a lot of fun, and then my girls will be older, so they might both be able to go to Kids Club and everything, and we'll have a lot of fun that way. Alright, well thank you guys for watching. God bless and be adventurous. Bye!